In today's episode, we are going over how much money does fitness pain-free make? This is going to be the first quarter of 2023. Let's go. So this is the second time I've done this installment. If you guys want to check and see how much money I made in the last quarter of 2022, you can check it out on Instagram, also on YouTube and Facebook. They're all saved here. I got a lot of good positive feedback. So thank you guys for that. My goal is to kind of peel back the curtain a little bit, show you guys how much my business earns, right? I feel like content creation in the physical therapy space is interesting. There's not a lot of folks doing it. There's a lot of businesses that I look up to that I wish that they do something similar to this. So essentially showing me how they make income, what things are doing well, which ones aren't, right? And I hope that this is helpful for you guys. I've gotten the feedback that it has been. And it's also been very useful for me because I get to reflect every single quarter and try to basically figure out what's working, what's not, right? If you're not really tracking these numbers, you're not really sure what's going to be working and what it isn't. So this is really important for me from a business perspective. And if I do it publicly, it gives you that total transparency, right? And hopefully helps you out along the way. And then for me, it's also super helpful too, because I get the feedback from you guys. And it just makes it more regular for me, which is going to help my business in the long term. So hopefully it helps you guys out. Like I said, this is my second installment. If you guys want to see how I did last month, you certainly are welcome to, or excuse me, last quarter, you're certainly welcome to. Can't speak today, sorry. So check that out on my YouTube. All right. Before we get going, I always want to let you know about my fitness pain-free mini course. If you like the way I educate and if you want to learn more, this is the next natural step. It's 100% free. I go over 4 big lessons, basically how traditional schooling has failed us. I learned a lot of great stuff in physical therapy school, but didn't learn how to be a master and expert working in strength and fitness. I'll help show you how to do this. I go over 7 reasons why people get hurt in the gym. If we don't know why people are getting hurt or how people are getting hurt, it's going to be really challenging to prevent future injury, and it's also more challenging to rehab them. Go over 4 simple steps of getting your clients out of pain and back to training. Rehab can be very complex. It doesn't have to be. It can be quite simple. So I break it down and show you how easy it really is. And lastly, how to build the career of your dreams and earn the respect of your community. So learning is great. I love to learn, and this is my business, right? It's teaching you guys how to be better as physical therapists, as coaches, trainers. However, I think one of the major reasons why we do continuing education is because we want to be better at our craft, and that's so we can serve people better, and then in turn win the respect from your community, right? You want to be a valued member of your society. So talk a little bit about how to do that, because it's not easy as being a good physical therapist, being a good coach, although that's a big part of it, okay? I'm going to leave a link in the show notes so you guys can check that out. If you're watching the Instagram version of this, you can find a link in my profile under the highlights, Fitness Pain-Free Mini Course. And if you do enroll for the Fitness Pain-Free Mini Course, you'll be enrolled into a waitlist for the Fitness Pain-Free certification. This is the largest and most comprehensive course certification that I offer. It's open for enrollment 4 times per year for a 1-week period. I highly recommend you guys check that out. All right, but let's get moving on to today's topic. So the moment you've all been waiting for. How much money did Fitness Pain-Free earn in total from January 1, 2023 to March 31st, 2023? So basically the first quarter. And you'll see a little bit later, this is just my online earnings. This segment, so in the last quarterly earnings, I didn't put in any of my money that I made as a physical therapist. And I think moving forward, I'm going to start adding that in just because I got the feedback that from Trey. Appreciate it, Trey Martin. Shout out. But he just said he likes to see all the revenue sources, right? So I can show you exactly where the money is coming from. And I think that's useful. So I want to put my physical therapy earnings on there as well. As you'll see, I don't make as much as a physical therapist as I do as an online entrepreneur. So hopefully that's helpful. So anyway, first quarter of 2023 in total, and this is without physical therapy earnings, I made $54,595.98. What I will say is this is the best quarter I've ever had in my entire life, which is awesome, right? The other thing I will say, and we'll see this in a minute, is that this is not comparable to what I'll probably end up making for the rest of the year. First and foremost, because I'm already in second quarter, and I'll tell you what, the earnings aren't quite as high. And the other piece is that this is capturing some of my certification in the second quarter. Some of the earnings from the second quarter kind of being shown in the first quarter. And because of that, the numbers are a little bit artificially inflated, although it was a good quarter overall. So where were these earnings coming from? Just like last quarter, the large majority of my income is coming from my fitness pain-free certification. It's the biggest, best course I offer. I really think it's phenomenal for all personal trainers and coaches trying to be experts to master working with athletes in the strength and fitness realm, right? So I made $45,598.60 in this quarter. That's actually up around $10,000 from last quarter. One of the major reasons why this is because A, I had a good launch, but B, just because I am capturing, if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, you'll actually see my earnings towards the very end of the period have bopped up a little bit. There's a little blip there. And the reason why is because it's capturing some of my next launch. Okay. So when I do this for the following quarter, my earnings are going to be down quite a bit. Let's hope not. I have some things I'm trying to do to bolster that, but I do think that my earnings can be down quite a bit, at least from the fitness pain-free certification. Boom, fitness pain-free insiders. So this is my subscription-based membership. It's also a continuing education service. It's kind of my low cost entry to learn more from me. So it's basically a $1 trial. Then afterwards, it's a recurring membership. I actually bumped up the price on this recently, and I'll tell you why towards the end of this. But I'm down very slightly. I went down $100 on this, which makes sense. Usually each month I have a bit of a drop off. And then when I have a sale, it bumps back up again. So usually I have a bump up for the sale, then it slowly trickles kind of from month to month, goes down a little bit. But it's nice, consistent revenue. I add to this every single month. It's a personal project of mine that I really enjoy. And I try to take good feedback from my students and from you guys just to create the best possible content in there and just deliver it nice and cheap. So it's one of those passion projects. It doesn't make me a ton of money, but it's a lot of fun. And hopefully it gives a lot of value for a very low price, right? Next, I have my pain programs or my rehab programs. They're kind of the ultimate shoulder, ultimate knee. If you ever seen any of those projects. So it went up this month. I made a total of $3,153.71. The reason why that's up around $1,000 is simply because I launched my programs again. So I relaunched the programs. I updated them again. I made them a bit better, and I had a sales period for them. So in the next upcoming months, I know these sales are going to be down, but that's okay, right? Because basically the numbers are going to be inflated during the periods of time where we actually have a sale. So, but a decent month for the rehab programs. Next, I have my courses. So the shoulder course as well as the knee course. And I made absolutely $0 this quarter, which is actually quite common for me. So I typically have sales during sales periods. So if I don't actually run a sale, I usually don't make much money. And to be honest, I don't make much money on my courses in general, at least my knee course, my shoulder course, which is always odd to me because I talk to guys like Mike Reinold and they tend to make a big majority of their money from these courses. For me, it's not so much. It's more for my certification. But these sales were down about $1,500 from last month. But I know that when I launch these again, so I'm actually creating a low back and hip course, which I plan on launching later this year. I'm going to run a sale alongside the rest of my courses. So I'm pretty sure this is going to spike at some point, probably third quarter, fourth quarter this year. But for now, terrible, 0 sales, right? So not so good. Moving on, how about the mobility programs? So my sales are up on my mobility programs just because I had a sale for them. So this was, I want to say looks like March of 2023. I kind of put my mobility programs all on sale. I launch a sale to my newsletter, and then I promote this on my social media. And my sales were up a little bit. So I made $1,367 on my mobility program. So the sales were up about $900. It's not that much, right? So my big earner is really the certification. These other products aren't quite as big. And you'll see I don't put as much effort into selling them because they're not as valuable to you guys, obviously, right? If you're not going to vote with your money on what you like, right? I'm not going to push the programs you guys have shown that you don't like as much. But I still think they're very valuable. If people want to see exactly how I mobilize folks, get them in better positions for Olympic lifts, squatting, all that good stuff, I have those programs. And I still do put them on sale about once a year. How did I do with my training programs? So I think I said this in the last video I did on the fourth quarter of 2022. I love writing training programs. I always have. And I've always tried to set up a business model that works selling training programs because it's such a passion of mine. I love exercise. I love writing programs. I like writing programs for health, programs that work towards fitness goals, powerlifting, bodybuilding, whatever it is. I absolutely love it. One of the problems is that you guys don't like it that much. People just don't buy them, and Because of that, I put a lot less emphasis on creating them and selling them over the course of time. And that's been a tough pill for me to swallow because I really love it. And it's actually the way I first started generating money with Fitness Pain Free. And over the course of time, I just had so many failed flop projects. It's like I can't keep on sinking time and effort into this. People clearly don't like that as much. Guys like Marcus Philly look a lot better with his shirt off. John Russin seems like they do a lot better with their programs. And I tend not to. So hats off to those guys. I'll kind of stick with some of the courses moving forward. But anyway, I made about $100 more. I made $557 on my training programs on this first quarter. Okay. So in the last quarter, I didn't talk about my physical therapy earnings. And then I had Trey reach out to me and said, hey, man, like to see the additional revenue sources, right? And one of the things that's interesting, about me and my career is that I'm a physical therapist and kind of my side gig is running Fitness Pain Free. But you can very clearly see that the large majority of my income is coming from Fitness Pain Free. It's not coming from patient care. So over the course of time, I've actually dropped down the amount of patient care that I do. I currently work 3 days per week, and I dropped down from 4 to 3 in January of this year. So I directly started making less money because of that. And currently I see somewhere between 20 and 25 patient hours per week. That's split between 30-minute and 60-minute sessions with folks. It's awesome. I get to kind of treat however I like. It's a cash-based business. So it's really neat. I don't have to focus on what insurance company thinks is most important for the patient. I focus completely on what the patient believes is most important. And that's very liberating and great for me. I don't have the pressure of making a lot of money as a physical therapist to pay my bills. So what that means is that I don't have to charge people more. I don't have to tell them they need to be in 3 to 5 times per week or say any nonsense like that, right? I can treat them exactly how I think is best. But anyway, so this quarter, I made $15,750 as a physical therapist, right? And that's actually down by about $4,000 from the last quarter. And like I said, I went from 4 days per week down to 3 days per week. I love being a physical therapist. I don't see myself stopping it anytime soon, but I just was getting so swamped with physical therapy work. I had to dial back a little bit. And it's kind of a selfish move. If I'm not working towards making more money for my family, right? Paying down our bills, paying down our student loans, our mortgage, providing for the family. And it's a little selfish on my end. So I want to try to push the things that obviously the public has told me they like more, right? But also gives me more money per time, right? As a physical therapist, I get paid a certain rate for the amount of time I spend. I don't have an interest in charging people an exorbitant amount so I can make more. I try to make more money by delivering more valuable information to a large, group of people. I have a global market of Fitness Pain Free. So again, first quarter, $15,000. It's pretty good money, obviously. And that's down about $4,000 from last quarter. So how about my total expenses? So I didn't go do a deep dive on this. I'm actually in the process of doing my taxes right now. We filed an extension this year. So I'll give you a better idea of what these expenses are in the future, kind of quarterly earnings reports, right? But largely my staff and payroll, I paid about $750, which is actually about $400 cheaper than last quarter. In terms of ads, I'm trying to spend more for Facebook ads. I spent about $416 this past quarter, which is still not very much. I'm trying to get that number up. And that got more expensive from last month, around $200. In terms of digital expenses, so things like Infusionsoft or Kajabi, the programs that kind of house my programs, they kind of take money, my newsletter, all of that stuff, all the services I pay for to basically run Fitness Pain Free. That was around $2,000. And those costs have gone up around $200 or so. And I am in the process of trying to get those numbers back down again by talking to Infusionsoft, because I'm always trying to keep expenses as low as possible, right? The amount of money you make is obviously going to be related to how much total gross money you make, but your net, the number you take home, is influenced by your expenses too. So I'm always trying to grow my gross, but also try to get my expenses down. Total expenses for the first quarter were $3,175, and that's about the same as last quarter. So that's good. Although I think I could take this number down. I've already told you I have some plans to try to get that down some more. So how much did I make in total? What was my profit and loss sheet, right? So this quarter, I had said I made $54,596 minus $3,175 for my expenses. for net profit of $51,421. I also got paid as a physical therapist. And if you factor that in, I think I'm messing up the math here with PT pay. That should be a little higher. I think it was 66,171. So this quarter I made 66,171 net profit. Last quarter I made 40,895. Again, it's about $10,000 higher than last month in this quarter. And the reason why is because I probably captured some of my fitness pain-free certification members in the second quarter launch in the first quarter numbers. So the number is going to be a bit skewed. But overall, I'll say that I had a good quarter. This is the best quarter I've ever had at Fitness Pain Free. It continues to go up. That's amazing. I already know that the second quarter is going to be a little bit worse. You guys probably know the economy is potentially going down. We're in a bit of a recession. A lot of folks are saying it's going to continue going down. I have some plans to keep on increasing my revenue throughout that, right? You got to plan for these things. I think, a recession can actually be a very good thing from a business perspective. I think it depends on how you look at it and trying to be smart about how to capitalize on that. But I'm just preparing for things to potentially be worse and having some, ideas up my sleeve to try to utilize if things do go bad. And obviously I'm always saving. I'm a pretty cheap person, right? Been wearing the same pants and shirts for the past 5 years. So I'm a cheap guy, right? Alrighty. So what are the next steps? I think this is probably the most valuable thing for me, right? When I go through these earnings reports, it's always cool to see the numbers and figure out what's working, what's not, and maybe why things aren't working, right? But this allows me to kind of brainstorm about my next steps. How do I keep growing, building? How do I kind of put any fingers in any leaks, right? My boat has a bunch of holes in it, right? How do I kind of plug those up so in the future we kind of don't take on more water? So I do have a course coming up with Mike Reinold. It's rehabilitation of the fitness athlete. I've been wanting to collaborate with Mike more for years and years. Super excited about it. It's going to be basically a fitness pain-free certification mini. I always try to ask you guys what you like and dislike about the course, right? My course in general and the certification and why folks don't buy the certification. One of the major reasons is just too expensive, right? So what I've done is I've taken the certification and I've made it a lot smaller. And it's a piece of my fitness pain-free certification, probably the most important parts. I made it a lot cheaper, right? So it's going to be a lot cheaper for you guys. And I'm launching that in a few weeks now. I'm pretty excited to see how that does. Mike Reinold obviously has a very large audience. If you're looking to grow in the online space, one of the fastest ways to do that is to make friends with people that have a big audience. In my mind, Mike Reinold is a bit like Oprah Winfrey. He's built this amazing platform. If I can utilize that platform to get to more people, it's going to help me. So we've created that and it's pretty much finished and ready to go. Hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll launch that. Keep your eyes peeled. The next thing I'm doing in the next quarter is relaunching Insiders. So that's my low cost, basically get in for $1 and then pay $20 a month moving forward. I want to start getting some physical therapy CEUs in there. We'll see how it goes over the course of time, and I might get some CEUs for personal trainers as well, depending on how well it goes. It's obviously a big expense every time that you buy these CEUs. But the other part is that I think it provides more value, and I'd like to do around 2 to 4 courses per year inside of Insiders. So it's going to be like a ludicrous value, essentially. Like if you need physical therapy CEUs, you pay $1, you can get a whole bunch of CEUs. That's bonkers, right? I want it to be a no-brainer offer, cheap, super valuable to you guys. So we'll see how that goes over the course of time. Obviously, my certification makes way more money than anything else. So I always am trying to make that better and better. I have a lot of ideas for that. Like I said, I'm making a low back and hip course that's also going to be inside of the certification. I eventually am planning on splitting up my certification to a level 1 and a level 2 because it's just getting too huge. It's ridiculous. At this point, it's probably got around 60 hours worth of content in there, 31 total CEUs, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, really. And it's getting too big, right? It's too much information, I think, at some point. So I'm probably going to split that apart just because it's getting enormous. I want to try and increase engagement inside of the certification. I'd like to potentially do kind of some live calls in there. I'd like to try to make it a little bit more collaborative, engaging if I can. So I have some ideas up my sleeve to improve that. I also want to try to automate it a little bit more. It's a crazy amount of work to launch these every single month. And I went from launching it twice a year to 4 times a year. Reason being is a lot of folks want it and like it. But the other part is that the more you launch it, generally the more money you make. So I increased that from 2 to 4 times per year. So far it's going well, but it's a tremendous amount of work. So any way I can automate that, I'm always looking to do that. That can take a little bit of work off of me, and it can also make the experience better for you guys. I would like to make my social media launches a little bit better, particularly for my certification, but for my other courses as well. I had, and this is for the next video, but in the second quarter, my launch for the certification wasn't quite as good. And I feel like a lot of it was because of my social media plan. And maybe I'll talk about that in future episodes if you guys are interested. But I definitely made a lot less, around $10,000 less. I think one of the major reasons is because I didn't plan as well for the way I launched the social media element of this. So I'm going to hopefully make that a bit better over the course of time. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons why I could have gone poorly, but we'll see. We'll see how the next quarter goes. I have some plans up my sleeve, see how that goes. And lastly, I'm just like incredibly swamped with work. I love this, right? I love what I do on a regular basis, but I also have a family, right? I'm married, I have a house, I have a child. Love those guys. Want to spend more time with them. And I spend a tremendous amount of time doing this. So one of the things I've been looking to do for a long period of time, hopefully I pull the trigger soon, is just to get a personal assistant, right? To make things a little bit more streamlined for me, to help grow the business, make the business better for you guys, obviously, but take some of the work off my plate because I want to be a dad, right? I want to pursue some of my hobbies as well, although this is a hobby. So alrighty, I think that's mostly it. I guess before we finish up, well, stick around because I'm going to have you guys ask some questions. So, before I talk about the mini course again, if you do have any questions, just type it into the comments right now into the chat section and I'll get to them. But if you guys really like what I'm going over, I highly recommend downloading the Fitness Pain Free Mini Course. It's 100% free. Put a link in the bio in the show notes. If you want to check it out on Instagram Live right now, very easy. Go into my profile, under the highlights, Fitness Pain Free Mini Course. Great stuff. Check it out. Next, let's move on to some questions. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, please let me know. If I don't get to them right now, if you're watching the recorded version of this, just throw it in the comments, right? If it's a good enough question, I'm making an entire episode about it. You know this. You know the drill by now, all right? Let me grab my phone just so I can see if there's any questions, and I'll answer them. And if not, we'll just kind of wrap up in a minute. Yeah. What's up? What's up? Let's scroll. Here we go. Good. Joined. Here we are. Shoulder sleeper. What's up, guys? Nikki, how you doing? What's up? Cool. Vit, what's up, bud? Appreciate the questions. Big shout out to, I'm going to botch your name. Sorry, man. Vit Kuchera. He's been like a huge supporter of the channel over the course of time. Really appreciate it, my man. It's awesome. Thank you. His question is, how much cost is university in your country, your whole study? So essentially my certification is $1,000 if you're on the pre-sale enrollment. I think he's asking about physical therapy school. Physical therapy school is astronomical. I think it's a big problem. But essentially, I think I posted these numbers before. They've probably gone up because these numbers are from about 5 years ago. But the average physical therapist after graduation, like a couple of years after graduation, average amount of debt is around $150,000 US dollars. It's a lot, obviously. Average physical therapy salary is, I'm guessing, but around 80,000. I'm so far removed from that world right now. I don't really know what all the salaries are. But the debt to earnings ratio is terrible, right? And that's a big problem for physical therapists. It's very, very expensive. And that's the average, right? So some people are going to have a lot more debt than that. And then obviously some people have a little bit less, but the average debt, I think, is like 142 or 144,000. I think about 100,000 of that debt was from physical therapy school. So part of the problems with physical therapy education is it's not just the cost of tuition. It's a cost of housing, right? Books, food, all the stuff that you need throughout your physical therapy, learning experience, right? And then also the amount of interest or how expensive it is over the course of time. When I graduated, I was paying around somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500 per month in interest, right? So I wasn't even paying down, the actual cost of the loan. I was just paying the interest. So it's kind of bananas. Hopefully that changes over the course of time, but maybe that gives you a little bit of information. All right. Thank you, sir. Moving on. Any other questions? Yeah, it looks like no more questions. Well, thank you very much, guys. I always appreciate you stopping by, hopefully get some value out of this. If you guys want to see more of these, hit me up, let me know. If you have any other specific questions, ask me in the future. And you want to see that in either one of these show episodes, or you want to see something I do, it's a completely different type of show, let me know. I'm always open to that and I really appreciate it. So thank you guys so much. And I'll see you on the next one. All right. Peace.